Hello, good afternoon, and welcome here to Prog Monster. My name is Murph. I am the host of this show, a show dedicated to progressive rock and other forms of rock music. So, we're here to talk about this is the show that we just started, me and Ben. So, we've given up Ben's album challenge. We're coming with this new one that we are trying out. It's called, it's a bit of a complex thing. So, this is called Two Musical Commonalities Compared. So what happens here is that Ben gives me a couple of things that are similar, have some similarity, or are related to each other in some way or another, and I talk about why they're similar and maybe talk a little bit about why they're different. Now, I did do a show before called What's the Difference, in which I picked two albums that were very much alike and talked about the difference. So this is kind of like that, but a little bit more on the commonalities and less on what's different about them. So the two albums he's chosen today, he's chosen two albums for today's commonalities. It could be two from the same group. It might be two albums from different group, which is what it is in today's case. It could be two guitarists, it could be two drummers, it could be anything. It could be but they have to have something in common. That's why we're doing this. So the two albums he's chosen today are this one, the Yes album by Yes, of course, and the other one he's chosen is Masters, Apprentices, Choice Cuts. Both really good albums. I do like both of them quite a bit. This one has a lot more history with me. I also own this one, where the other one is tough to find and get, so I don't own it, but eventually I will. I like both of them a lot, though. So anyways, we're here to talk about what's common about these two. I'm just going to flip my notes here, just so I did make some notes on the Choice Cuts album, because I'm not as familiar with it. Things that I thought were very common. What the hell is that doing? There's my baseball notes. So anyways, for most people, this is the beginning of Yes as Yes's sound. I do believe that the Choice Cuts album is the third one by them, which would make that a commonality. Don't quote me on that. I think it's the third. It may be the fourth, though. Could be the fourth album, but I think it's the third one, and this is the third one for Yes. So they have that in common. They're both the third albums by these bands, and both really excellent albums. So the most common thing about these two albums, so you've got basically 6 tracks on this one, 9 tracks, or I think it's actually 11 tracks on the Choice Cuts album. So this is almost double what's on here. But this one has some longer tracks as opposed to that one, which doesn't have that kind of long track thing. The most common feature on the two albums, to my way of thinking, is that, actually I'm going to sit this down for a bit. To my way of thinking is that they both have some really catchy hooks and really catchy riffs to their music. So in the case of the Yes album, you have Yours Is No Disgrace, Perpetual Change, and Starship Troopers, all having that catchy hook, and a little bit of a riff in the case of all three songs. I tend to think of them more as hooks, though. And with the Choice Cuts, it has about 5 of these songs like this, like Rio de Camaro, Easy to Live, Because I Love You, Caddy, and Our Friend Owsley Stanley. I always forget the Owsley part. 3. So they all these songs, the 3 on the Yes album, the 5 here, all have these really catchy hooks that are really memorable. You can't forget them. Once you hear them once, and you hear them somewhere else, you go, oh yeah, I know what that is. So with the Yes album, probably the biggest track on the Yes album, for me, and probably for a lot of people, is Yours Is No Disgrace. However, there are a fair bit of people that like Starship Trooper as well. In the case of sorry, I got something in my throat here. Okay, in the case of Apprentices, Master's Apprentices, the songs Because I Love You and Rio de Camaro both have those really catchy hooks. They're probably, to me, they're probably the two biggest songs on the album. I mean, though they have quite a few that are pressing it. That's the other commonality. Almost all the stuff on these two albums is really good, but they do have a few tracks. In the case of Yes, they have a couple of smaller tracks, which are The Clap and the other one, which I'm drawing a blank, Adventure. So those two are kind of, they're okay songs. There's nothing bad with them, but they're not really standouts. And the back half of this album by Masters Apprentices, the bottom few tracks, not that great. New Day, Song for Joey Part 2, I'm Your Satisfier. These are, to me, a little bit on the weaker side, but they're not terrible songs. So there's no really bad parts on either of these albums. The other commonality is they both have an acoustic bit. So you have this acoustic classical bit called Songs for Joey Part 2 on Choice Cuts, and then you have The Clap, of course, on the Yes album. Both classical. Now, I think the guitar player for Masters Apprentices is good. He's got that master ability to create these riffs. Steve Howe, maybe not as much of that mastery in that absolute pure sense, but I think a much better guitar player overall, especially in the lead parts. But both of them are really good at coming up with these iconic riffs. Starship Trooper is one of the prime examples of that, and again, Yours Is No Disgrace with that almost bonanza-like sound to it. I know some people said that that's where they got it from, and then I've heard that that's total lie, that they got it from some other place. Either way, it doesn't matter. It's a really catchy riff. So then you also have a lot of heavy bass on this particular album, Choice Cuts. And there's a couple of parts here. I'm just looking for my notes on it. There's one that I made a specific note on, and now I don't see it. Oh yeah, Easy to Lie. This one has an opening with this absolutely killer bass riff. And of course, Chris Squire is an amazing bass player and has a lot of that too. Not as much on this album as he has on some of the other ones, but still pretty dominating. So I find both of these albums have a lot of commonalities in them. They both are hard, fairly hard rock. There's some hard rock on both. They both have a lot of that kind of proggy sound to it, more on the Yes album than on the Masters Apprentice album, but still both there. They both have some acoustic bits, very common thing for both albums. And then you have, in the case of Yes, they have one kind of a track that doesn't really sit anywhere with any of these, and I almost feel like it doesn't belong on that album, which is I've Seen All Good People. It's kind of a run-on song, I call it. It kind of reminds me of Hey Jude, where they just have this part at the end just keeps running on in, and I never really liked that. As a consequence, I don't really like it with this song either. I do like the opening part of the song. I'm just not crazy about the back part. Kind of reminds me of Styx's Miss America. Not Miss America, Sweet Madam Blue. Same kind of thing, where they just have this run-on part. The run-on part is usually okay with me if it's not too long. But sometimes, like Hey Jude, just goes on, seems forever. Turns a 2-minute song into a 7-minute song. It's too much. Anyways, overall, I find the Choice Cuts album has a lot of interesting moments on all of the songs, where you get a little bit of flute sound some places, you get a little bit of keyboard sound some places, you get a lot of guitar soloing, you get a lot of bass and heavy drums, where with the Yes album you get some of that, but you get a lot more keyboard background, so these are some of the differences to the albums. This one, of course, is well known, well respected in the prog community. Probably a lot of people consider this to be one of the Yes's best album. The problem with Masters Apprentices, they really didn't make the jump to the international scene, and it's just unfortunate. I think if they'd come out sounding like this in North America, they would have been or in Britain, they would have been one of the huge bands. But because they were in Australia, which was kind of isolated musically at that point in time, 55 years ago, they just didn't make that international jump. It's just unfortunate because I think they're an absolute killer band, really instrumentally gifted, and it's the same as the Yes album, as the Yes group at this point in time. And going forward, I think both of these albums will end up being where they. Well, this one's already up there amongst my favorites, and I'm sure that one, once I get it, is going to join it in that part. So, anyways, I hope you've enjoyed this episode of those musical commonalities, the comparisons, and we'll try to do this show every week now, starting this Sunday, because I'm finished with my mini-series. So it'll come out every week on Sunday night at 8 o'clock, replacing Ben's album challenge, and without fail. It's not going to be bi-weekly. I think we'll just stick with it weekly. If it gets a little bit much, we might have to go bi-weekly, but I think it'll be fine. Anyways, I hope you've enjoyed this episode, and please like and subscribe. It's much appreciated. If you see anything that you've heard I've said that you think needs to be either challenged or maybe added to, or you have an opinion about it, you can put all that in the comment section below. I like the discussions. Sometimes I'm over here with something, and then after I talk to people, I'm a little bit more here. Sometimes I'm down here with something, and after a conversation with somebody, it comes more here, because you get different perspectives. Sometimes your own perspective is nice from your side of the coin, but it doesn't always tell the whole truth. So anyways, please hit the notification bell, and we will see you next week with this episode. Take care and have a good one. Bye.